I'm Mick Meanus. Here's a little bit about myself in case you're new and discovering me for the first time. Yes, I'm this beautiful in reality too. No filters, no makeup. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and on Instagram and on Threads at Movies TV Mad X. And if you're watching me on Instagram, you can follow and subscribe and everything else to my YouTube channel. 3 separate words, Movies TV Mad. I'm a writer, actor, director. I trained at RADA. I also went to film school. I own a theatre here in Ayia Napa, Cyprus, where I work with my amateur dramatic society. I write, direct and perform my original plays with them. I'm also writing a movie script called Saving Judy Garland. Once I'm doing that, it's a time-travelling adventure. I will continue that little franchise in script form. Nothing's happened. It's not definitely going to be made into a film, but we can dream. The sequel to that story will be Saving Norma Jean, aka Marilyn Monroe. One of the more exciting things I'm doing is an unofficial Friends revival as well. So that's me, and I also won the Ayia Napa reality show back in 2013, Ayia Napa Raw. So that's me, that's my CV. I don't want to go right back to when I was 17 and worked for the Co-op and little jobs like that, but that's who I am. I thought it'd be nice if you're new to know a little bit about me. So today I want to talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU. There's no question about it that post-Endgame, it's been a disaster. It is indefensible. It was business franchise suicide, what they did. I always said that after Endgame, if I was Kevin Feige, if I was in charge, I would have rebooted, but I would have taken a 5-year break to think about what I was going to do next. I probably would have used Disney Plus, MCU, to do like kid-friendly animation, and you know, just keep kind of the MCU alive in a small kind of element, but I certainly would have had that break. Because they're so greedy, they think it's like post or die, and I think that's what's happened here. You know, the MCU and Kevin Feige and Disney became a bit like people on social media who feel it's post or die. If you don't post, you'll get forgotten, but if you're good and you're talented, no one's going to forget you. At the end of the day, Endgame was the end of the story. There was nothing more to do with this iteration of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It made absolute sense to reboot or to go to an alternate universe like they're doing now. Because an MCU film I'm very excited about is next summer's Fantastic Four: First Steps. I'm not sure about having First Steps as part of the title, but I think they want people to understand what they're attempting to do. Why I'm asking today, will Fantastic Four: First Steps reboot the entire MCU and have it live in the 1960s in this alternate universe? Because that's what Fantastic Four: First Steps is. It's in an alternate, universe away from the MCU's universe, which has been since the first Iron Man film, and it's set in the 1960s. If it were me, I would absolutely reset the MCU and set it here. It's unlikely that's what they're doing, sadly, because if you look at it, you've got Spider-Man 4, which surely won't be set in the 60s. I mean, it would be amazing if it was, but it won't be. I mean, just imagine if you had a self-contained Tom Holland Spidey movie set in this alternate Fantastic Four: First Steps universe. I can't see that happening. We're also getting Captain America. So that's happening as well. That's not going to be set in the 60s. So it's clear, that's not going to happen. But if it were me, I would absolutely love period piece comic book movies, whether it's the DCU or if it's the MCU. But they're so obsessed with the contemporary time, they wouldn't do that. But they're doing it with Fantastic Four: First Steps. And I absolutely think if you reset the MCU, had it in this alternate universe in the 60s, and then jump to the 70s and 80s, that could be really interesting. And so what are they actually doing here? They've got this movie set in the 60s, right? In an alternate universe where you've got the rest of the stuff set in the modern era. Now, as I've said, post-Endgame is been a disaster. So how do you fix it? Well, one of the ways is what I've already suggested. Have everything self-contained in this 1960s alternate Fantastic Four First Steps universe. That would have been awesome. The beauty of having comic book movie period pieces is you don't have to have them in the parameters of modern day. You don't need to worry about modern day sensibilities. You don't, and I mean this could be very triggering to some people, you don't have to worry with as much diversity or being problematic. You're just looking at implementing great characters and great stories. Don't forget that Marvel has been around, I think, since the 60s. Marvel Comics was launched in the 60s, right? So setting this Fantastic Four movie, and I think Fantastic Four was kind of launched in the 60s, wasn't it? I'm not a hardcore Marvel comic book guy, so I'm not an expert, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm really excited about this Fantastic Four First Steps movie. I think it could be excellent. The word is the Comic-Con footage was outstanding. I mean, I'm a DC guy more than a Marvel guy, but I've got all the Marvel movies, most of them, until I think I've got everything post-Endgame, and I've got Spider-Man No Way Home as well, which was an outstanding film. And I really enjoyed Deadpool and Wolverine. So this has to be a brand new start. It's very, very important now. But what's interesting is Destiny Daniels is doing Spider-Man 4. That's interesting. Now, you can't mess about with Tom Holland. Tom Holland's very similar to Henry Cavill and Ryan Reynolds. They're on you all the time. They want the fans to get what they want. They want the fans to enjoy the movie because they are fans as well, especially Tom Holland. He's a big Marvel MCU dude, so he's very passionate. So he won't be involved with anything unless it's done right. So hopefully, despite it being directed by Destiny Daniels, who is an okay director, again, we're not talking about Coppola or Scorsese, right, or Oliver Stone, but he knows where to point the camera, right? We get that. So it should be a pretty good movie. We'll see what they do there. But I think that Fantastic Four First Steps is an interesting movie, especially being set in an alternate 1960s. But what does an alternate 1960s look like? Is it going to be a typical 1960s setup? Would it have contemporary values because it's an alternate universe? It's very, very interesting. And will we see, we could actually have Scarlett Johansson, for example, in that alternate universe playing another character? What I'm saying is there could be a lot of surprises. Despite bringing back, Robert Downey Jr., and it being a cheap, lazy way of trying to win the fans over, I do think it's a smart idea, even though it's a lazy idea. I mean, having Wolverine in a Deadpool movie is a lazy idea, but it worked. It put butts on seats. And at the end of the day, that's the business of this type of entertainment. I mean, someone was asked the other day about, I think it was Coppola, was asked, is the Marvel Cinematic Universe cinema? He goes, well, kind of, he goes, but the drive, the motivation of cinema should be art and storytelling, not making loads of money. Do you remember the days when they could make money and, deliver great artistic integrity at the same time? What happened there? Well, the pioneers of the industry were fired and driven out for hugging too hard and smoking a little bit of weed and things like that. Let's not get into that right now. The industry's on its knees. The industry's in trouble. So basically, Feige is still using the same people he used to deliver the MCU that failed post-Endgame. So that's interesting. But I don't think it matters that Destiny Daniels is directing Spider-Man 4. It's not about the director. The director is directed by Feige in the MCU. So as long as Destiny does what Feige tells him to do, and this is a reset, and they are trying to fix the MCU, then I think this kind of thing will work. But the MCU needs a reset There's no question about that.